So for the studio flat, we're going to be taking our strapping, instead of putting it flat, we're going to turn it 90 degrees, we're going to put it on edge like this. This is going to be a lot stronger. When we put our Luan skin on, it's going to tighten everything up. So that this is going to be really easy for us to put next to other flats, attach things together. And we'll show you that once we get this flat put together, how to use it. So we're going to start off with measuring out our pieces that we need to do. Now, with this method of construction, you can do this entire project with one sheet of Luan and 3 12-foot pieces of strapping with just a little bit of scrap left over. So what we're going to be doing is, in order to do your measurements, we have to keep in mind that we're going to be putting these together like this. You're going to have another piece coming up here. When we put this other piece on the bottom, we have to account for that distance. So always make sure you're measuring and that you're going to minus what you need for your dimensions. Easy way to remember is when you're using strapping like this, it's always 1.5 inches. When I take these two pieces and I put them together like this, I now have 1.5 inches going this way. So if I'm going to measure something out that I want to be 4 foot wide, but the tops are going to be on the inside, then I need to actually measure it so it's 46.5 inches apart. So we're going to be doing that on everything. So in order to do one of these flats, we're going to be creating 2 pieces that are 94.5 inches. Those are going to be our long sides. Our top and bottom caps are going to be a true 48 inches, 4 foot. And then our middle piece is going to be 46.5. Now I try to build everything within that 8-foot height, but I do vary things as far as the width goes. You can make 1 foot wide flats, 2 foot wide flats, 3, 4, any of that you want to do. If you keep them all the same height, it's basically creating a massive Lego set you can just put together in multiple shapes and forms, but they're all the same height, so everything is still uniform when you're creating multiple story sets and things like that. So you can do whatever width you want, but we're going to start out today with doing our basic 4 foot by 8 foot flat. 4 foot by 8 foot is our basic because that is industry standard when it comes to the construction. All your plywood comes in 4 by 8 sheets, so why mess with that? Let's just use it, and it's going to make our entire world so much easier. So next, let's get things measured out and start getting our pieces cut. We're going to measure out our pieces. I'm going to have Mary and Jared, our assistants, here today. We're going to go ahead and measure out. Let's start out with the first one at 94.5 inches, please. Remember, when you're always making your marks, to put an X on the scrap side of the line so we know which side to put the saw blade on when we're cutting. We're going to measure another piece coming from the other end of the board for 48 inches. Because this is a 12-foot piece of lumber, we can get both pieces out of one piece. Through the magic of film, we already have all of our other pieces measured and ready to go, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to get all these cut, so we'll get ready to assemble. Alright, so now that we have our pieces cut, they're ready to go, we're going to do some assembly. So to do that, the easiest thing to do is take your sawhorses, put your plywood down first because that's your 4 by 8 sheet. You know everything's going to fit within that dimension, so that becomes your tabletop. And then you do a rough layout of your strapping, right? Our 4 foot pieces, our 48 inch, are the caps. So they go on the outside, and these longer ones, these 94.5s, are on the insides. What we're going to do is we got 2 screw guns set up. Some people might actually have a pre-drilled bit that you can switch in and out. We don't. So what we do is we use a drill bit that's 1/8 inch or a little bit smaller. We're using sheetrock screws to put this together. We use 1 5/8 inch sheetrock screws. That gives us enough depth to be able to go between both pieces of wood without danger of really splitting both pieces at the same time. But when you're using strapping, always pre-drill. Strapping is extremely dry, and because it's smaller, it's a lot easier to crack. If you don't pre-drill, you're going to split the wood and have to recut, and you're going to have a lot of wasted wood that way. So we have 2 screw guns set up. One is going to have the drill bit, the other has a Phillips number 2 bit, which is your standard Phillips size, and then we have our drywall screws. Mary and Jared are going to put this frame together, And once we get the frame together, then we'll go ahead and skin it. Alright, so now we have our standard 4x8 flat has been built. You see the back side of it here. We have our middle brace. And then the nice thing, as I was talking about before, because this is a studio flat, with these being on edge, it's easy for us to attach these to other set pieces to be able to make a wall very quickly. So this piece of strapping, think of it as another flat. All I have to do is just put it here, and then to make these two wall pieces attach, I'm just going to put a screw right in through here, 1 5/8 sheetrock. Or if you're doing a quick change, you're going to be moving things around, you can use a squeeze clamp or a C-clamp to hold these in tight. It gives you that nice grip to be able to hold all these together. You can put a wall up really quick with windows, doors, or just a regular wall like this. As I said before, this center brace gives us the ability to have our brace that's going to go to the floor. So you have an L shape coming at your 4-foot mark here, down to the floor, gives you something to tie into. So these things are very durable. And as I said before, if you keep your height all the same with your 8-foot difference, then you can always have them 1 foot wide, 2 foot wide, 3 foot wide. You can make a wall of any length or size that you want. Your 8-foot, keep it as a standard, is going to allow you to use these like a modular set piece. I have some of these flats that we just built. I've been using them for over 25 years now, and we were able to just simply repaint them and reuse them. And you know, they're a little bit more expensive than you might have paid for the canvas at the time, but for 25 years using the same flat, the price is incalculable. So this is one of the cheapest and best ways to go to be able to do community theater, high school theater on a budget, and be able to keep things so you can always change, always adapt, and make new and better sets. And then with these, you have them forever. So, hope you learned a lot. We'll see you next time.